Good evening. It's Monday, November 20th, 2023. This is a Kearney Board of Aldermen meeting. Call a meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shirley, have you had a chance to take roll?
I have taken roll. Everybody is present. You have a quorum.
We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, public hearings. We do have a public hearing scheduled this evening to receive public comments regarding rezoning of 0.818 acres of the West Major former railroad tract from C General Commercial District to M Industrial. If you would like to speak for or against the proposed rezoning, we'll have you come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Open the floor for public comments or input. Do we have anybody online?
Just Ryan.
Okay. Seeing none, we will close the floor for public comments or input. Move on to personal appearances. We have none scheduled this evening, so that'll get us to the consent agenda. Does the board have any questions or items of discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, if we can entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes as presented. Thank you to the board for approving my recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Commission to our resident Shannon McGuire. He is here this evening. Shannon, if you want to raise your hand. So welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and thank you for continuing to serve your community. We'll move on to ordinances. The first ordinance this evening is a motion approving bill number 40, 2023, presented by David Pavlich, our Community Development Director, an ordinance amending Chapter 400 of the Municipal Code of Kearney, Missouri, rezoning approximately 0.818 acres along the north side of the West Major Street to M Industrial District as requested by the City of Kearney. Pavlich?
Yeah, this is a strip of ground on the former railroad tract that the city has on the north side of Major Street next to Mr. Dell's. The board has entered into a sales contract with Mr. Dell's to sell them a piece of ground, and as part of that sales contract, rezoning of the property was included. And so rezoning of the property today would help help the board meet the requirements of that payment.
Any additional feedback from our Planning and Zoning liaison?
Well, this is about the rezoning itself. The people that came and spoke to us were more concerned about the actual use, and so they were not opposed to the rezoning itself, and just were concerned about how that might affect their property.
Any questions, feedback from the board on the proposed? If we could read the proposed ordinance on the first reading by title only, please.
An ordinance amending Chapter 400 of the Municipal Code, the Comprehensive Zoning Regulations of Kearney, Missouri, rezoning approximately 0.818 acres along the north side of West Major Street to M Industrial District, as requested by the City of Kearney.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Second reading by title only.
An ordinance amending Chapter 400 of the Municipal Code, the Comprehensive Zoning Regulations of Kearney, Missouri, rezoning approximately 0.818 acres along the north side of West Major Street to M Industrial District, as requested by the City of Kearney.
Move to approve on second reading.
I'll second.
Pull the board.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Alderman Holt,
Aye.
Alderwoman Barger,
Aye.
Alderman Lehman.
Aye.
Votes unanimous. Ordinance passes on the second reading. We'll move on to resolutions this evening. The first item is a motion approving Resolution 44, 2023, presented by David Pavlich, our Community Development Director. A resolution approving the Fox and Fire site plan at 102 West Lawrence Street as submitted by Andrew and Nicole Fox. David?
Yes, this site plan, Fox and Fire proposes to build approximately 1,400 square foot building on their property for their barbecue restaurant. The board has approved the last couple of years some temporary approvals through a section of the code that allows them to be on that property with that trailer. And the goal's always been for them to locate into a permanent structure. And so tonight, this site plan proposal would do that. They would construct about 1,400 square foot building. They'll do some narrowing of the Lawrence Street driveway. It's as wide as the parking lot. So by removing some of the pavement there, they can narrow up that driveway and make it a little safer at the intersection of Lawrence Street and 33 Highway. They will add some sidewalk in the location where they will remove that driveway and add some sidewalk along Jefferson Street. The north half of the property is marked for future development, so it's a small project on the south side. No improvements are proposed on that north half of the property. There's some building elevations in the packet as well, so you can see what the building would look like. White vertical batten-board siding, a couple of overhead doors, one on the north side where they can open up to their customer seating area so people can enjoy the outside when the weather's nice. Andy Fox is in the audience today if there are any questions from the board. And then the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval by a 5-0 vote, and there were a list of some standard conditions in their approval.
Anything additional from our planning and zoning liaison?
The only thing that I asked that evening was about the appearance of the building. And wanted to make sure that the two buildings were similar in look, and I was assured that that would be the case, but there were no other arguments.
I can add a few comments on it. So
Certainly.
they've got the little existing building. It was used as an office for the car dealership when it was there, so it's got some stone veneer that they'll remove the siding and reinstall siding to match the proposed building, so that those two would match.
David, I got a question on it. I've seen that it looked like he's putting his trailer inside the building on there. Is he cooking out of that while it's inside the
Andy
building?
can answer questions.
Oh, Andy, are you cooking while it's in there?
Well, not smoking in there,
Okay,
but the trailer would be for prepping and like preparing our sides and all the things we're doing now. It'd just be inside the building, but not smoke. The actual smoking trailers would still remain outside.
okay, but are you gonna have to like get some kind of duct system or something that gets out of
Yes.
the? Okay, so it's not be where you can pull it in and out.
Correct. In fact, the health department is in communication with them. They've asked that we sign something that states that the trailer at that point doesn't become mobile. Not that it's mobile now, but that we sign an agreement that it just stays in there, because it's basically going to be plumbed in, all the electrical, the drain, like it would be very difficult to get it in and out.
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering, because the drawing doesn't show the finish, it just shows
Yeah.
it.
So no, it would just be moved in there and basically stay.
Gotcha. Okay.
Only question I have for staff is the kind of the phasing in of sidewalks. We typically require sidewalks along the entire property. Why are we making an exception in this instance?
And because it's phased, they're phasing the property, so the north half of the property won't have improvements, but it could at some point in the future. And so the sidewalk improvement would happen at that point in time.
Am I remembering incorrectly then? Have we made other applicants, even though it's phased, still do the entire infrastructure, all the entire sidewalk through developments and?
I'd have to look at, can't answer that question.
Okay.
Other than subdivisions, in subdivisions, of course, it's phased, reach the final plats.
That was my biggest question. Any other questions from the board of staff or the applicant on the request?
No, I mean, this is gonna seat the restaurant part of it.
Yeah, they'll have some seating.
Do we know how
inside.
many?
You know how many?
I don't know the occupancy, but it was.
Usually like on the middle
I
side,
wanna say, I
buildings
think
require some sort of
For
facade.
some reason,
improvements.
35 is in my head.
Okay, just a metal building.
It's not metal,
It's
it's siding.
No, I don't think it'd be sprinkled. Sprinkles kick in about 90
It's not metal.
or 100.
David, what material is the exterior of the building composed of?
It's smart siding, vertical smart siding.
Okay,
So is that a concrete? Or is it a composite?
so what I was I want to make sure the board's, what I'm questioning here is there would be no proposed sidewalk from this portion of improvement north towards the residents here, which I thought typically we would require sidewalk
Is there
there.
a sidewalk in front of Jim's house?
No. All right, if there's no other questions or feedback from the board, if we can entertain a motion approving resolution 44, 2023, a resolution approving the Fox and Fire site plan at 102 West Lawrence Street as submitted by Andrew and Nicole Fox.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. Thank you for being here.
Casey.
Next item is a resolution, a motion approving resolution 45, 2023, presented by Sheila Ernst and our city administrator. A resolution of the city of Kearney adopting priorities from the city of Kearney through fiscal year 2025.
This resolution simply summarizes the work session that was held on September 5th, 2023, and restates the priorities that the Board of Aldermen came up with during that work session.
I have a question. When this is put out, you asked about some changes, Dave made some changes and some redactions, and then, but that's not what you're presenting to us here. This is actually the very first one that you did at the beginning.
Alderwoman Spencer proposed some changes. Alderman Lehman didn't make any changes. He asked, no, he asked that, that I send the file format in a PDF file that showed the red line version of Alderwoman Spencer's proposed changes. So it was just a PDF version of that showed the red line version.
Right.
And then two aldermen wanted to go with the proposed changes. Two of the aldermen wanted to go with the original draft. And so the mayor suggested that we present it as original. And then if an alderman wanted to propose changes, that you could do that when you made your motion.
Okay.
Any other questions or feedback from the board? You can entertain a motion approving resolution 45, 2023, a resolution of the city of Kearney, Missouri, adopting priorities for the city of Kearney through fiscal year 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. Next item is items for review and presentation. First will be our October 2023 monthly financial report from our finance director, Kathy Harper. Kathy?
I've included or enclosed the October financial statement. This is for the 7 months ended of the fiscal year as of October 31st, 2023. Total revenues year to date were $16,012,804.02. Total expenditures year-to-date were $16,618,069.99, with expenditures being over revenues by $605,265.97. Everything here is in line with the budget. For 58% of the year. One thing I wanted to point out is there was a donation received of $15,880 from Margaret Poe in the cemetery fund, which shows which isn't a significant amount of money to $16 million in revenues, but it does show a nice percentage for the cemetery fund. And then the other question on sales tax that you guys have normally asked is how is it projecting, and it's still running slightly ahead of where it was last year.
Can we anticipate some actual information from the marijuana tax, the new marijuana tax?
So I believe that those revenues were starting to be collected in October, so they would be dispersed to the Department of Revenue in November, and we should receive our first payments in the month of December. So we'll receive them in December. That would be included in the January report. But if I can make that information available sooner, if you wish to see how they come.
Nope, that's fine. I was just curious.
Okay.
Any questions from the board on our October financial report? Thank you so much for the report. Next item is the Jesse James Festival report from Eric Marshall, our Parks Director. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As many of you know, the Jesse James Festival contract with the city is for a 10-day period each second and third weekend of the calendar year. And this year, the festival had a great crowd. I will say that it began with the demo derby on the Friday, the first weekend of the festival. And also they had a teeting dance up underneath the pavilion. Both of those events were very well attended. I was in attendance for the demo derby, and it was just a great event. A lot of food vendors there, so very well attended. The second weekend was a success as well. It began with the parade, as it always does, down Washington Street, and then full activities in Jesse James Park for the remainder of the weekend. Just a couple of noted changes that they did, and it was very well received by the public, and the festival entrance as they participated was returning to the mud volleyball instead of the sand volleyball. They tried sand for a few years and it just wasn't as well received, and this year they went back to the mud volleyball, and everybody seemed to like that a lot better. The other one was they had no parking fees, which the public really liked. A lot of people came out that don't partake in the actual go to the events, but like to go to the arts and crafts, and they had a lot of people walking along the arts and crafts, and that's great that more people go out to the park. We didn't have any rain or anything of that nature, so I will tell the board that there was no damage to the park, which is a great thing at the conclusion, and we try and have a good working relationship with the Jesse James Festival for their event. One of the things that through communication through Ryan and I and Sheila is that park staff is working on a public service agreement that we'd like to bring back to you for approval or adoption if need be. The reason why we'd like to do that, there's really nothing in writing what the city's responsibilities are, what the festival's responsibilities are, and we'd like to get that in detail, writing and so on and so forth. That way it's a great working relationship. That way come as they're planning their events that they need to do. We know what we've got to do for them. They know that what they've got to do in addition to pull off their event, and that way we're on the same page. We'll get that back to you if need be. Sheila, is that something we bring back to the board for approval? Okay.
Yes.
We'll get that back to you soon. That way that's out of our hair, and that way they can start planning, because they go down to the Missouri Fairs and Festivals Convention at the end of January, 1st of February, that type of deal. And we'd like to get this taken care of, and that way everybody knows. So again, great festival. We just want to make sure that we detail the things the way you as a board and us as staff, we cover our bases on what we're supposed to do for the festival. And that's all I have.
Great, thanks for that report. Next report is from Carolyn, our Economic Development Director, to talk about Chapter 353 redevelopment districts.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. So tonight, primarily the staff would just like to gauge the board's interest in creating a 353 redevelopment district for the original Kearney area in an effort to preserve its character and charm and to spur reinvestment. Chapter 353 is an incentive that's allowed by Missouri law to encourage the redevelopment of blighted areas through the abatement of real property tax. Very basically stated, it's real property tax abatement that's granted for a specified term based on the investment value of substantial exterior improvements to properties within the boundary. The level and term of abatement would be tiered based on the investment value, and each and every single project would be reviewed on its own merit. City staff has come up with a draft boundary for the purposes of this discussion tonight. If the board is interested in creating a redevelopment area, the first step would be to have a blight study prepared. Blight does have to be found in order to utilize Chapter 353. It's important to note that the area as a whole would be blighted. No one's particular business, no one's structure, no one's home would be declared blighted, so it wouldn't affect property values. It would just be as a whole. And so the first step would be to get a blight study, and so I'm just seeking feedback to see if the board would like to move forward, and if so, that would be the first step, would be to have a blight study.
What's costing it?
It's about $10,000. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
I personally think this could be a real boon for our downtown area here. I have seen some other areas that have done this, and enough people took advantage of it that there was a noticeable difference in the appearance. So it could be worth it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't this allow us to specify what the exterior looks like?
We could, in addition to it just being an incentive area, we could do an overlay district where we did have design guidelines.
And do you see any downside to doing this?
I personally do not see a downside to doing it.
That was, so when I had discussions with Sheila and staff, I don't like giving tax credits, but generally this program, where it's been successful in other places, when you're taking blighted area or area that's had lack of investment in many years, it brings a new life and increases its property value and neighbors' property value by new development. And so you may give up a little bit here, but big picture, you're making it up by increased value of other property and sales and stuff in the community.
True. And there's one thing I would like to add if I could. So a lot of people think, oh, I want to do a roof this year, but I can't afford to do windows till next year, maybe 5 years down the road. So this program incentivizes that property owner, in this case I'm thinking of a resident, to do it all in 1 year. And then the rest of the community gets to look at that house in its new and improved condition. And then that person gets to take advantage of this program instead of separating out two projects over the course of many years.
Now, I'm not opposed to it. I just want to make sure that I understand both sides of it. Do existing homeowners have to worry about, now they live in an in a less blighted community, and now their property taxes go up. Those kinds of things are just things I want to understand.
I would think that that would be long range, and if that was the case, it would be because the program
Was
saw
successful.
success.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I haven't looked at it from that perspective, but what I do know is when one neighbor sees another neighbor doing it, it's kind of, it can become contagious.
Sure.
I don't see anything negative, and it's not really negative. One of the things that you have to make sure to do is then market or advertise the program, because the program just being in existence, a lot of people don't necessarily pay attention to, what the board is doing or what the city is doing. So one of the things that staff would certainly have to do would be to get the word out, send postcards, maybe put an ad in a paper just to kind of constantly let and inform citizens that this program is available.
Carolyn, the only question I have, and I think it's an important one for us all to consider, is when you're talking about property tax abatement, is this strictly City of Kearney property tax abatement?
It would be.
Would it
all-
affect the school district and fire district?
Yes.
And have we had a discussion with them about this topic?
We have not. We wanted to find out from the board first if this is something that you would like to pursue. And if it is, we would absolutely have those discussions.
Okay. I think before, I don't want to speak for the board, but before I would want to consider, I would appreciate the feedback of the school district and fire district,
Yeah, me
probably,
too.
before we had much more conversation on the topic.
But I also had a question, you're talking about blight, how blighted does it have to be to do this? Because, I mean, it's an older part of town, but it's not necessarily blighted. So,
Exactly, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that word has a lot of different connotations to it, right? So blight can be something like inadequate infrastructure or lack of curbs. It's not necessarily only about the structure. It's about all of the environment within that boundary. So, another thing that I would like to mention in response to your question is, obviously, before the board passed an ordinance, there would be a public hearing. All of the taxing
For sure.
entities would absolutely be notified and able to come and speak, but to your point, we'll absolutely reach out to them. And then a board, a recommending body would also then be created. So all of the applications would come before that board. City staff would work with that board, kind of like planning and zoning. They would be just a recommending body to the Board of Aldermen. And then each and every individual project that applies, that meets the criteria, that passes, staff looking at the application and making that it meets all the criteria, then each and every one of those will have their own public hearing. So it's not like you have one public hearing and then anybody and everybody can go ahead and apply. Every single application has to come before the board with a public hearing.
but we have the final say on it versus the school board or the fire district?
Correct.
Is this just new projects, or are these projects that have been prior approved and not started?
Can you
So that
expand a little on that question?
we've approved a townhome project that is kind of stalled.
Mhm.
And, yeah, I think it would be nice to get some residential like that downtown, and that's why we did it originally, but for whatever reason, it's kind of stalled.
Yes, nobody can start a project before approval. And there's always going to be that bubble, right? There could be some people who have permits or are just applying for a permit for a roof and maybe some windows. And so I've seen other communities say, even if you have already started your project, if you have a current, and this is just one possibility, if you have a current open building permit with the city, then the board could go back retroactively and take a look at that application to see if it meets the criteria.
So I think right now what staff's looking for is a consensus from the board that if this is or is not something that staff should be spending some time with. No, as you have not looking, we don't have it, there's not an ordinance prepared to approve tonight. We've got other things to do, but I guess just by a show of hands, is there or not, is there a general consensus that this is something that the board desires the staff to work on?
Yeah, I think
I think it's something to proceed, obviously to check with the fire department and the school district.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm totally sold out on it yet, because I want to hear what they have to say, but I like the ideal.
Right.
I like the idea of it a lot, even if we'll be generous and say half of the people in this small area of our community take advantage of it, which would be amazing if they did. It's doubtful if we get 25% buy-in. So I think it's such a small amount that would affect our school and fire district that I think they would be on board with it. And the good that could come out of this, if 25% of these structures in a key area for us all of a sudden are looking much improved, wow. I think it's a win-win.
Good report. I think that gives you the feedback you need.
Thank you.
Yep. Next is a report on Kearney's Magical Night by Sheila Ernzen.
Mr. Hamilton, the executive director of the Kearney Enrichment Council, reached out in the past, well, last year, the Enrichment Council actually decorated the inside of City Hall and also the outside of City Hall. This year, city staff has decided that they have the resources to decorate the outside of City Hall per Mr. Hamilton's request. And what I need is to know from the board, is it okay for the Enrichment Council to run inside just like they did last year? So to have Santa inside so that, and the public coming in and then going out maybe the back door and having access to this open area.
Any questions or concerns on the request?
No.
Okay.
Eric, do you want to tell them what your plan is for decorating City Hall, please?
Sure.
Outside.
That's okay. First and foremost, we are going to have decorative pole lights. We've got one up just to see how it would look. Hopefully we'll get the good weather and a scissor lift later this week and get the rest of East Washington Street, all the pole lights decorated. The wreaths naturally will still go on the facade of the building as they have in the past. And then we have purchased lights to decorate the four main pillars out front. And we're waiting, it's supposed to be here this week, but the very top of City Hall, the facade, will have the snowflakes similar to what our pole lights will have with some extra decorations, and that will be hung on the top facade of City Hall. So should look really nice.
Thank you and your staff for taking care of that.
Sure.
How old are our two wreaths? I'm just curious.
They're old, but I know that Donnie's crew last year put in all brand new bulbs and fluffed them up, and they still look really good.
30 years.
30 years? I thought so.
'Cause we
There's a
got 'em
lot of
shortly
balls
after we
that
moved
used to
in
be
here.
on them, ornaments that are no longer there. The bows are a little,
They redid them last year.
It looks really nice.
Yeah.
They've really held up.
how many trees did you buy for your?
Not with tax dollars, but personal dollars. That's different. A lot of things to. Next topic is a certification of existing nuisance dangerous to public health on private property at 412 North Jefferson. David Pavlich. I'm gonna have some questions for you, so just a heads up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Actually, since this had been issued, since the agenda had been issued, this issue has been addressed, and so there's not a need to request the board authorize staff to do an abatement. There was a sanitary sewer failure. There was a pump that failed, and so we wanted to make sure that it got repaired. If it didn't get repaired by tonight, then that we could try and take additional steps.
What? Go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm just agreeing with him, sanitary sewers are.
Just curious why it took so long to get resolved and why we had to get this involved.
Well, we started out with a letter from the sewer utilities department, and then we sent additional letters from code enforcement. Letters had been sent certified, went to the PO box, and the owner, they ended up coming back to us. They were delivered back last week. So additional contact was made and notification was made, and so the plumber was hired and it had been addressed.
So everything's mitigated, everything's up, okay.
Yeah. It was all over the weekend, and it had been inspected by utilities department.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to mayor's communications. A couple items I have this evening is I just want to make sure everybody's aware that myself and staff, a representative from the school district and a representative from the fire district, had the pleasure of attending the Kansas City Area Development Council annual meeting last week. There's a lot of exciting things going on around Kansas City in the next couple of years. I feel confident that with the work of Carolyn and our staff that we're going to have some exciting things going on in Kearney soon as well. So a great meeting, exciting time for our city. Saturday, December 9th from 11:30 to noon, I'll be at Porter's Building Center for the Chamber of Commerce is having a holiday story time with the mayor. So I'll be reading a couple Christmas books to kiddos. I think Porter's, Nick, you guys have some nice things going on. So I appreciate you guys hosting and allowing that. And thank you to our chamber for helping coordinate that. So 11:30 to noon, Saturday, December 9th. And then the Costantino Family Foundation, every year since I've been mayor, they've mailed a check to me and asked that I, in return, place that check to an organization or person kind of needing some extra holiday blessings. In the past, I've in turn donated to the senior center, the food pantry, Shop with a Cop, the Kearney Richmond Council. This year, I would like staff to prepare a check for $2,000, which was their donation this year, made payable to the Kearney School District. I spoke to our superintendent, Dr. Emily Miller, and the funding will be used for, it'll go to the social workers, the caseworkers inside the school district. They're trying to decide the best use, but there's some kids with lunch balances that need paid and some things like that. So I feel confident that the social workers and the school districts will, on behalf of the Costantino Family Foundation, put that money to good use to the kiddos in our community. And then December 9th, remember Kearney's Magical Downtown Night. This year the board will be with the street department. So as soon as I get some more information from the street department, I'll let the board know if we need to get any costumes or anything. So now Donnie, just, we typically bring trophies. So that's the only way the Parks Department got a trophy last year is because we were with them. So
It didn't skunk, so we're looking.
yeah.
Yeah, they need a little help.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been kind of rotating departments, so it's going to be a wonderful evening downtown Kearney. Thank you to all the staff that are volunteering your time and efforts to be a part of that. That concludes my mayor's communications. I think, yes. We'll move on to the city administrator report.
The first thing I have this evening is to let you know that filing for candidates for the April election opens Tuesday, December 5th and ends Tuesday, December 26th. That will be during regular business hours and not when we are closed for Christmas or Christmas Eve.
So next year is when the Secretary of State lowered the timeline. You have like a week, or a couple weeks. It's not this year.
Well, we only have a short amount of time, but you think that they made it even shorter?
Yeah, I do.
I don't think it's this
Okay.
year.
All right.
And then, my only.
I think you said January. Did you say January?
Sorry, December 26th.
Okay, December. Got it.
To December 26th.
Not including holidays.
Not including
Perfect.
holidays.
Thank you.
Yes, and then the next regular board meeting will be Monday, December 4th at 6:30 PM right here.
Great. We'll move on to Alderman discussion. Alderman Spencer.
Couple things. Living off of 19th Street, I am pleased to say that, boy, it's working well. We have a lot more traffic now at the light there at 19th and 33. I turned out a McDonald's the other day, and it was much easier. So it's doing what it was supposed to do and alleviate a bit of the traffic up here, and has transferred some of that way, so that's really wonderful. The second thing I would like to say is that I also am doing a story time with the Chamber of Commerce, and I will be telling stories, a couple of Christmas ones, on Saturday, December 2nd at the Kearney Historic Museum from 11 to 11:30. So if anyone would like to join me there, please do.
Great. Alderman Holt.
Well, first off, I want to publicly say congratulations to our Kearney Bulldogs, 35-0 win. Awesome. Looking forward to cheering them all the way to state. That's very important for our community, and it's important for everybody that lives here, whether you got children here or not in the school district. It still brings a lot of pride to our town. Also, yes, the interchange is fantastic. I really like that a lot. And then last thing that I want to mention is that we've been having some trouble with trash, and I think it's getting better because they picked up both my trash and recycle. I haven't been home yet today, so I don't know how they did today, but last week they got it taken care of. I did ask my wife earlier if they got the trash, and they've gotten the trash, but I don't know if they got the recycle yet. But so the problem with the trash is getting better, so thought I'd share that with you.
Great. Alderman Lehman.
Couple things, excited to see the lighted parade. Last year I wasn't able to be in it. This year I'll be right there with everybody else again, so it'll be fun to be back in the parade. That's always a fun time. We get people from everywhere that, it's surprising. Small town Kearney puts on a lighted Christmas parade and traffic's backed up for hours, because of all the people that come in from outside of our community and inside. And so it's kind of become a tradition, and everybody looks forward to the fireworks afterwards. So it's a great event for Kearney and kind of the off-season of events. We're not always in the state football playoffs, so this is nice to have this for our community. The 19th Street interchange, what can you say? It's beautiful. The only complaints I've gotten is that for however many years, Kearney's had one exit. And so unfortunately, the semis have not gotten used to a second interchange. And so there apparently are some semis getting off on the 19th Street interchange because they've never seen the new one, and they're finding out that there's nothing there. And so I don't know whether there's a way to put something out there, no services or something to keep, to try to limit the amount of semis that get off of the interchange. It's not so much, them coming out down Watson Drive and getting on to I-35. It's coming off thinking that they're getting off on the 92 exit, and there's nothing there. So I've had a couple people call me and say, why are there semis coming down 19th Street? It's like, well, we have a new interchange, so, and to piggyback on Alderman Holt's comment, I am happy to report that the trash and the recycling got picked up today, so, it's good to see Republic take our comments seriously, and it's good to be normal again.
You mean the services that you pay for are getting completed?
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? That's all I got.
Alderman Barker?
I just want to add my congratulations to the football team. It's very exciting to see that happen and see the success of those gentlemen. And it certainly creates a lot of interest and excitement in the community. And it's just one more thing to say, to make you say that you're proud to be part of Kearney. So congratulations to those guys, and hopefully we'll still be talking about them next week.
Yeah. Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
I'd just like to recognize that we have a bunch of scouts here. Whole side of City Hall is scout uniforms. So if I'm correct, these guys are Weeblos or Arrow of Light. Yeah. So congratulations. Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Would ever need help with any badges or would need to meet with us one-on-one, let us know. Be happy to meet with you. Yeah, thanks for being here. That concludes Alderman discussion. Next item is we do have an executive session. Noticed that this evening a closed session per 610.021 subsection 13, individually identifiable personal records, performance ratings, or records pertaining to employees or applicants for employment. And just a reminder, our meeting will be adjourned from there. So this will conclude our public portion of the meeting. Could we consider a motion to enter into executive session at 7:16?
I'll second that.
Roll call vote, please. Poll the board.
Alderman Holt.
Aye.
Alderwoman Barker.
Aye.
Alderman Lehman.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Votes unanimous. Everybody have a good evening. Thank you.